Hello, and good evening, everyone. Happy Friday on this fabulous Friday, and welcome to our Diva discussions. My name is Chatney White, and I am the founder of From the Sanctified Divas Network, where our mission is to encourage, equip, as well as to empower women across the globe on how to not only become, but to also remain determined, inspired, virtuous, and anointed women of God, as well as to help push you towards fulfilling your kingdom assignment while living your best life now. And so tonight we are doing part 2 of Dating as a Diva, how to ditch the drama and level up your discernment. All right. So last month we did part 1, and because we ran out of time, and because it was requested and by popular demand, I decided to come back and do a part 2 so we can further talk about and continue to dive into this topic as far as dating as a diva. All right. So I just want to do a quick little recap. So I'm not going to get fully into everything that we discussed last week. If you want to catch the replay of that, then I'll give you information about how you can go back and watch the full replay of that. So I'm not making it available on Facebook or social media, but you can go back and access the replay if you would like of part 1. But tonight we're doing part 2 of Dating as a Diva, how to ditch the drama and level up your discernment. So last week we talked about when it comes to being out here in these dating streets, how one, we set the tone and we hold the power when it comes to when we are starting the dating process with someone. When we first meet someone, we pretty much set the tone based on our actions, what we accept, as far as what boundaries that we put in place. So we set the tone and we hold the power when it comes to dating overall. Also, you want to always go with your gut. You want to listen to your inner Holy Ghost. Basically, if you're getting that feeling, which is typically the Holy Spirit letting you know something is off, or you're not really feeling something about this person, you don't want to ever ignore that. Trust me, you don't want to ever ignore that. So go with your gut, listen to your inner Holy Ghost. If it's trying to tell you not to proceed, something is off, you don't want to ignore that. And then last, always take new connections to God in prayer and ask him, who sent this person? Is this from you, God, or is this someone sent on assignment from the enemy to distract me, to throw me off, whatever the case may be? You want to always take new connections, and that's not just in dating, that's across the board in friendships, business partnerships, anyone new that is being introduced in your life, you want to take it to God in prayer. So that's just a quick little recap from part 1. But I want to get into some other questions that we didn't get a chance to really go into on last month, as far as dating as a diva. And again, let me just clarify, when I say dating as a diva, we know when it comes to this community, a diva is an acronym which stands for determined, inspired, virtuous, and anointed. When I talk about dating as a diva, basically a grown and sanctified diva, I'm talking about dating as a kingdom woman, a true born again woman of God believer that is not trying to, or has a desire to not live or date or go about that whole process as far as according to the world standards or according to culture, but according to how we're supposed to do it, operating as true woman of God, as true kingdom woman, even living in the year 2021. Because I know it can seem impossible, and I know we got so much stuff coming at us all the time, and it could seem easier to kind of want to go about and do things the world's way. And it could seem like those that are in the world, or they're doing things their way, or according to, popular culture or whatever, that they're getting results, they're getting married, they're, living their best lives and all of that. But we got to remember in the word, it says there is a way that seems right unto man, but what it leads to a path of destruction. So we cannot be deceived or thrown off by how it may seem, how it may seem or appear to be, looking at other people, everyone else's life, and thinking that, I must be doing something wrong, or, it's not worth it, trying to do this God's way, trying to do things the right way. I'm going to just, go back to what I know, or go back to my old ways, or I'm going to just go and try to do things according to the culture way and not the kingdom way. Just because it seems or it may look easier, don't mean that you're going to get the results that you want. So before I go ahead and move into some of these questions regarding dating, is there any pressing question or topic regarding dating that you have or that you would like to ask DI.V.A at this time? Like, if there's anything that is just, you just thinking about or just curious about, or, it could be anything. I want to get an opportunity for you to present, a question or issue or anything when you think about, being out here in these dating streets. I know you mentioned last time, the last month during our discussion, that you weren't really dating, and, you were kind of on the fence about it. And, I know it's been a little while. So, but when you think about venturing out into the dating, the dating scene, so to speak, or the dating world again, what's one of the main things that makes you, I would say, kind of not feel fearful, but hesitant? Or what is one of the things that kind of keeps you from not wanting to get out there and date, or be somewhat hesitant about it?
I think for me is, I still feel like I'm trying to get comfortable with myself. I was always in relationships where the man seemed like he took a lot of space. Well, at least the last couple of relationships I had, he took so much space, if that makes sense. And so I kind of almost lost myself. And I don't really want to get into that type of thing again.
Right.
And I don't really know, I don't know. I miss, the thing that I miss is having somebody to talk to sometimes, and just that, but I don't miss the everyday in my face part. So I'm hesitant
Right.
today, because I don't need you.
No,
I
I
always
feel
was the
you.
person, I'm
I
like,
totally get where you're coming from.
yeah.
And it's so funny that you brought that up, because, well, first of all, thank you for that feedback. So I would say that, for, some of us out there, because it could be that this may not be the season for you to date. And that's another thing that I wanted to bring up, point that I wanted to make. But we have to first recognize and understand whether or not it's our season, to date, or it may be our season where we, God may have us in a time and a period of being hidden, or, just working on ourselves and getting more intimate and closer with him, and further working on our relationship, like you said, and just really getting to know you, and just enjoying that space again, and just working on and loving on you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, because everybody is in different seasons in their lives. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic, no matter whether or not someone is in a season of dating, or even they may not even be thinking about it, it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you fall on. I think what we have to get better about doing is we have to get the information in our arsenal, and store it up, and be preparing, for certain things before we even enter into it. It's just like a lot of times with single folks, if someone is talking about or teaching on marriage, they can kind of tend to, turn deaf ears or tune them out, or they can kind of be thinking, well, I'm not married, this doesn't apply to me. it may not apply to you right now at this moment or this season that you're in, but there probably is going to come a time where where it is going to apply to you, and you are going to need to use that information, because eventually, unless you don't mind or just want to be alone for the rest of your life, and that's another whole conversation. But if that is the case, that's fine, because some people are fine and content with being single for the rest of their lives. If they never ever get married again, that's fine, because God, has gifted some people with the gift of singleness. It talks about that as well in the Bible. Some people have the gift of singleness, and they can live a life of being single for their entire lifetime, and they are totally fine and happy and content with that. And I know that that's not the gift that God has given me. Okay, now, as much as said, I am content with my singleness, but I'm not complacent. Okay, so let me say that again. I'm content in my singleness. That means I'm totally secure. I'm happy, in myself, in my life. Do I have everything I have? No. Is everything, is always going perfectly? No. But being content in your current state, that's what we are called and supposed to do anyway, In the word, what it says, whether we are bound or whether we are based, like no matter what state or season we're in, we're supposed to be content anyway. And honestly, if you are not in a place where you could say that you are just, you are totally full and complete with just, you and your relationship with God is enough, then no other person would ever be enough. That's something that, was just recently like revealed to me, like this week. And it was presented and asked, well, if God never ever gives you a spouse, will that be okay? Will he be enough? Or would you want to pout and complain or be resentful or be mad at God? Like, I think we have to get to that place where it doesn't matter either way, whether God gives us a spouse, whether he doesn't, whether we remain single or not, that we will be totally, perfectly fine, because we're already complete in him. So I think once you know, and you can totally and you can totally and wholeheartedly say without a doubt, and honestly, that if I don't ever get hooked up with anybody else, if I don't ever get married or whatever, that I would still be perfectly fine with that. I would still serve God, and God, you are enough in and by yourself. Like, it's only when we get to that point, I feel like, and that's when you are actually ready and in the proper position today. Because now when you go into something, you're not going to be looking at somebody. You're not going to put that relationship, above your relationship with God. It's not going to become an idol. And if we're not at that point where we can just totally and wholeheartedly say that our relationship with God is enough in and by itself, even if he doesn't give us a spouse, and honestly, you shouldn't be dating nobody anyway. You shouldn't even be trying to get married. None of that anyway. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, and I didn't even want to get into that. But I think it really truly does lay a foundation as far as, okay, before you can even talk about dating, you want to, do some self-reflection and assessment as far as where you're at right now. Yeah. Okay. And you have to really be honest and ask yourself, okay, if God doesn't give me a spouse, if I'm, nobody comes along my path to date whatsoever, am I going to be okay? I'm going to be content with that. I ain't going to be ready to denounce my relationship with God, stop serving God, stop worshiping him, be mad at him, all of that, just because he if he doesn't give you that one thing. And I can honestly say that I am at that point and at that place, and I wasn't always there. So I don't judge nobody who's not there, because I know it took me a while to get there. You know, at one point I was like, you know, nah, God, I ain't trying to hear that. You know, it's like, you know, we want to try to tell God what we want him to do, and it
Yeah.
don't work like that. You know, you have to get to a place and be at a point where, God, if you do, or even if you don't, I'm still going to praise and worship you. I'm still, you know, going to do what you have called me to do. I'm still going to go forth in my purpose and my assignment, whether I have to do it alone or whether I have a partner. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm still going to go forward and do what I know I'm called to do, with or without anybody else, because I know in you, I'm already whole. I'm already complete. And that's what I think a lot of us as singles, we got to really work on reprogramming our mind and get that out of our minds, because it's the world, it's culture, in a sense, that's always constantly throwing at us and putting in our heads, well, you're not whole, you're not complete. If you don't have somebody, you're missing something out of your life. Your life is not totally complete if you don't have this other person, if you don't have a spouse, and something is that's missing, so you're incomplete. And then you fall into this mindset of thinking, well, I'm not complete yet. I'm not going to be complete unless I have that. But last time I checked, single means whole. But I think that we continue to forget that because of what we're constantly inundated with and thrown at with by culture, and even Christians, because we have a lot of Christians that have a cultural mindset or have a carnal mindset too, but I'm gonna leave that alone for tonight. So anyway, so does anybody, have any response or want to add or have any questions or feedback to that before we move on?
That was a lot.
I know it was a lot. I wasn't even trying to go there tonight. That was not in my notes whatsoever.
But I felt that because I had never really thought about, thinking of, because I feel like at some point I'll be ready. I've already, my mind kind of starting to go in that direction. And that's why I wanted to be on these teachings, because I do want to get myself in that place. I feel like at some point it's going to happen, but I just feel like I have so much to learn about what a real relationship is, because I've recently learned some things of my old relationships, and when I look back, not near one of them dudes was faithful. Nobody was ever faithful, and I didn't even see that when I was in the relationship. And so I really want to be prepared to know what I'm supposed to look for and different things like that, because I missed a whole bunch of signals.
Right,
I
exactly.
had
And
no
it could
clue.
be, and a lot of times it could be easy to miss those red flags, because a lot of times, sometimes we just want to see what we want to see. Because a lot of times, even if we don't, whether or not we want to admit it, those red flags, like, they're always there. But a lot of times we may not recognize them as red flags, because it may not be, something that's like, blatantly evident, or like, and it could be something that we're, in a mind, we can kind of, it's easy for us to quickly dismiss stuff. Or if you like me, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt all the time. But I found out, I said, it's a 50-50 thing with that. So, I'm learning you can't always give everybody the benefit of the doubt, no matter how much you may want to. It's something that you just can't always do. But yeah, I think it's important that we got to definitely, be on the lookout. So speaking of that, so let's talk about some red flags that we should look out for, and I know it can vary depending on, different situations, different people. But I think there are, a few standard red flags that, you should always be on the lookout for. and have your, you know, radar up about when it comes to dating, you know, saying being out here in these dating streets, like you just really like I said before, if something comes up that don't really sit well with you or doesn't rub you the right way, or you just kind of get like this, you know, feeling deep down, let's say, not just in your gut, but in your spirit, soul, and everything that something ain't right, like you don't want to ignore that, okay? So I would say, so one red flag that I want to bring up is the red flag of, you know, if you only talk to this person certain times of the day, or if they only call you certain times of the day, like that is typically always a red flag that, number one, they may already have something going on in another relationship. They probably may have a whole other separate life. But if they only want to talk to you at night, or, you know, saying during certain times of the day, or if you're not able to talk to them during, you know, acceptable hours, then typically that can be a red flag. Not always, but typically I pay attention to that, like, because for the most part, you know, if a person's only able to talk to you after a certain time at night, or they can never talk to you during the day, or let's take a step further, if they won't even meet with you or see you, you know, but you know, during a certain time of the day, typically that's a big red flag. Okay, they got something that's going on. They're not totally single, or they may not even see you as somebody, as something that they want to have something serious with. And so you have to look at those things too. Also, if a guy, if he wants to, if he wants to be around you like all the time, 24/7, like if he wants to have like 100% all of your free time, and don't really expect or want you to have a life, like that's a definite red flag. Okay. I've experienced that. Well, when I was with my daughter's father, that was exactly how it was. And of course, in the beginning, you know, like you were saying, like a lot of these things, they were there, but I overlooked them because I was so infatuated. I won't even say I was in love. I knew I wasn't in love. That was not love. But I was so infatuated with him, and I was just so caught up in, I was loving all the attention that I was getting from him, because that's something that's very important to me when it comes to being in a relationship with anybody, is that I get your time and attention. I'm not saying I have to have 100% of your time and attention all day, every day, but I do like to have, you know, a person's time and attention as much as I can. So in the beginning, you know, it's kind of cute, like, oh, okay, yeah, like he want to be around me all the time. You want me to be around all the time. When you're not at work, I'm not at work, whatever. It's like we're just together all the time. And so I didn't really see that as an issue or problem in the beginning, because I'm like, hey, I mean, he's just, you know, into me, you know, we're in a relationship, we're dating, that's what you should do. But I didn't recognize at the time that the reason why he wanted to be up under me all the time was because he didn't have no life.
Yeah.
He did not have a life outside of going to work and coming home. He had no friends. He didn't really have any hobbies that he was, you know, involved with, or, you know, doing. He didn't have any type of interest, you know, his family wasn't anywhere near here. So, I mean, I understand that. But at the same time, like, it's important for both people to have a life outside of each other. Okay, because there is a thing of spending too much time with a person, you know, because you still gonna need to have your own separate identity outside of them. So what do y'all think about that? What's y'all feedback? Do you think that there's a such thing as spending too much time with a person, or do you think it's okay to spend 100% of your free time with somebody, with as far as if you're dating or if you're in a relationship with them?
That is a big one. I know somebody else on here, so I don't want to take up the whole time. But yes, that's a big one. I had that with my a couple of them, and I didn't realize, well, yeah, you was right. They didn't have a life. And so it just gets to be too much. I don't need nobody up under me all the time. That's just my
Right.
personality.
That's what I have,
So
discovered. Like I said, back then, I thought it was, it was cute, it was cool. I was like, okay, he wouldn't be around me long. And I was flattered by it initially, and I was eating it up in the beginning. But after a while, I was like, yeah, like I said, it started bothering me too, because it was like, I was like, dude, like, I got, what I'm saying? I need to, I got other stuff to do. I mean, I have to divide my time. I ain't even have half as much as I have going on then as I do now, but I still was like, okay, like I have to divide my time amongst other people, other things. Like you're gonna get your time, but you can't expect to just want to dominate all of my free time. And we said we not married, we in a relationship,
yeah.
but it's like I felt like even with giving him like pretty much 99% of my free time, it still wasn't enough. So watch out for that. If you like always bending over backwards and trying to accommodate and please the other person, and they always make you feel like it's never enough, it's never, I'm like,
It's the
okay, like what else you
control
want me to
is
do?
it's not only if they don't have life, but also can be a controlling
Right.
situation.
I was gonna
And if
say
you
that,
do
yes,
spend
because he
time
was
else,
very, very
yeah,
controlling.
yeah,
I'm
it's a
sorry, go ahead.
control thing. So yeah, I that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
what about this? I know that we kind of already talked about this last month in part one, but remember when I was talking about as far as when do you think it's a good time to let somebody come over to your house, or when it's a good time to make that step, make that move, and let somebody know where you live, or as far as coming over to your house. And so I'll go ahead and let you two ladies know. So right now, like I said, I already said before, I am in a season of dating because I know that I have, I went through my process of, you know, taking a lot of time by myself, making sure that I was fully healed and over my past relationship, just kind of, enjoying myself and not jumping into anything else. So it's been 2 years for me since I actually been in a serious relationship. And I have dated, so to speak, and well, some of these people you can't even really call it dating. But yeah, we talk about that. Yeah, some people what they call dating. I'm like, is this dating? Because we don't. You're not asking me to go out nowhere. Like all you want to do is just talk on the phone. Like talking on the phone is important, but we gotta also bring some balance and we gotta spend some time with each other too. So, or they just want to just, chill at the house. It's this whole culture of Netflix and chill. And just side note, don't fall into Netflix and chill. Like don't fall into it. Don't set yourself up like that. Just don't do it because once if you do that too soon, then after that it's like, well, I don't have a reason to take you out because you already been to the house or you've been over to your house, whatever. You Netflix and chilling. They like we already, in this comfort zone now of just chilling at the house. So why do we need to go anywhere? Like I'm telling you, like we got to make it harder for these brothers out here because a lot of them, because of the way women have been operating, they pretty much have gotten used to not having to work hard to get your attention, to get in a relationship, to come over to your house, to gain access to you like that. Like, because a lot of women have made it so easy. So I want to also remind and encourage us that, hey, keep your standards in place. Make these brothers work for it. If they want to, trust me, if they want to be able to come over to your house, wait and make sure that, okay, they first have put in some time. They have shown some type of longevity, that, you just haven't went on 2 dates and now it's okay for them to come over, or, you have to make sure that you maintain your standards. Don't let anybody out here fool you or have you thinking that you just not supposed to have no standards or you can just kind of let any old thing slide, and you got to establish those boundaries up front. But yeah, so I'm currently in a season where I'm dating because I know that I am I'm ready. I took the time to heal. I'm not holding into any past hurts. I'm not, you know, I know that I'm fully over any past relationships, and I'm single, like I'm single, like single for real, for real. No connections to anybody, nothing that I'm still holding on to. So I know that I'm in a place in the season where now, I am ready and able to date. And so I just started recently talking to or dating someone new. And so we've had quite a few conversations, and this has came up as far as, well, you know, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we were to get to a point where, things are very serious. And okay, we're already at that point where, okay, yeah, they know where I live. Okay, we're just speaking hypothetically right now. And so pretty much they were saying that they think that it's okay if they just, stopped by to visit me unannounced after we got to a certain point in the relationship or it's serious. And I was like, no, I don't think that that's cool for somebody to stop by unannounced. I don't care if we're seriously in a relationship or not. Like out of common courtesy and just just to the fact that you might not even know that I'm home or that I have a child. On top of that, like even if we are at that point, even if you have already met her and you're not a stranger to her, like I'm talking about even past that, it's still not okay in my book for you to feel like you could just pop up over at my house, even if you, that's to say, if you want to quote unquote surprise me. But I still feel it's important that a person not pop up and let you know unless it is an extreme emergency or they feel like something serious is going on. But other than that, like, you always need to let me know, that you on the way, or if you want to come by. I don't care what point we are in a relationship. I feel like that's just something that should be done. What do you ladies think about that? Do you think that's kind of pushing it, or do you think it's okay for somebody to just to be able to stop by your house? Let's say if you are in a serious relationship, or do you feel like it doesn't matter what point you are in the relationship, that it's okay for them to just pop up and come by your house?
It definitely matters at what point you are in the relationship. But I think, and I can only relate to, for example, my husband, the way he was initially, which he lived in another state, so that was a little bit different. Right. But he's definitely the type of person who would have went and bought flowers and stopped by and, dropped it off or something like that. But also my husband's personality, his character is, he's very, very respectful. And so, so I don't think that it would have been a matter of him just dropping by out of disrespect, just dropping in on me from that perspective. It definitely would have been a reason. So I think that the context of that question is more or less, where are you at in the dating, process? Is this somebody that you've been dating, say 6 months, 7 months, and you guys are you can tell whether or not you're serious or not. And you're at that point where you're very serious, and they stop by to bring flowers or something like that. But on the flip side to that, if somebody is just dropping by just to say, hey, I was in the neighborhood, I just stopped by. Well, now that's where, you have to say, okay, we're going to set some boundaries here. No, you don't just drop by, Now, if you stop by and you see if you drive by and you see my vehicle and you call me and say, hey, I'm outside. Can you come outside for a minute? Don't come knocking on my door. Don't do that.
Exactly. Yes, I agree with that. So yeah, even if you happen to be in the neighborhood, like, yes, you need to pretty much, my point was, yeah, you need to call me, whether that's, 5-10 minutes beforehand, or if it's an hour or two beforehand, at least you need to give me a call, give you some type of heads up that you're coming by, because you don't know what I have going on, what I'm doing. You don't even know if I may be at home. Even if you see my car, which 9 times out of 10, yeah, my car is outside and probably here, but you never know. I could have, for whatever reason, went out, or maybe riding with a family member somewhere. I mean, you just never know. So it's not about having anything to hide or
right.
and I was gonna say, and I know not everybody thinks that way, but you have some people, I will say men, not just men, but in general, that feel like, well, if I'm not able to just stop by your house, when I get ready to, if we are already, if it's already at a point where it's getting serious, then, that can be that could be an issue, or they may want to sometimes they'll automatically want to assume that, okay, you got something to hide going on, like why couldn't I just stop by if you don't have anything going on, or you're not trying to hide something from me, or you got some other secret life or something going on. And it's none of that. Like I said, it's a matter of respect. It is also, it's about that person's, like, character and what they're doing it out of. Because like you were saying, that's something that, your husband before, like, he may just want to, stop, drop off or surprise you with something, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's all about, where you are in the relationship, and also just respecting each other's boundaries. So,
right.
And so with that, when that was expressed, like, pretty much in my mind, I'm not going to just totally, I'm not totally looking at that as, okay, that's probably a red flag, I don't need to talk to him anymore. I, did definitely make a mental note of that, and, keeping it in my back pocket. And I just think it's something that, we would just need to talk more about in more detail and kind of get more. Because see, on top of that, this person, they don't even live in my city. They're not like right around the corner. They're not even like, 30 minutes away. They're like, 2 hours and some change away. So my thing is, if you were coming to see me or visit me, it would just not even really make much common sense for you to just want to pop up and visit me when you don't live right around the corner, because you could drive 2 hours and some change, whatever, to come and visit me, and I not even be at home. What if I decide to take a trip? So, I mean, if I'm out of town or something, or family emergency, I mean, you don't know what could be going on. You done drove 2 hours for nothing.
And I think it depends too on what that other person's love language is, because like you said, if they don't live in the same city, then what would be the objective? So I think that's the ultimate question, is finding out. So if this is what you think is okay, what is your reasoning behind thinking that that's okay? Because again, it goes back to, what if that's their love language? What if,
right?
Because that's a part of somebody's love language. A lot of times people will give what they want, because maybe that person is okay with you getting in the car and driving to their city and surprising them. So that may be the thing that they do, not realizing that you don't give your love language, you receive your love language. And so a lot of people they don't understand that.
Right, that's true. That's definitely a good point. Like, it could be, because of their type of love language, that could be something that they consider as a way of them giving or expressing their love and affection. Just driving up and coming to see you. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I could be thinking something totally different. I'm like, hold up,
That's ludicrous.
like,
why would you do that?
right, like, I would be like, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm still gonna need some type of heads up, because I like surprises, but to a certain extent, like, I don't want to be surprised too much in that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be able to make sure that I can be prepared or expectant. Like, because for me, and it's all about how a person operates, because we all have a certain schedule or routine thing, or how we do things. And like, for me, I plan my week out, and my weekends out according to things that I'm trying to get done, or I may already have planned. Like, so if you want to pop up and see me or you want to pop up and try to do something and you haven't even consulted with me to see what I already have planned. And then when you get here, you're expecting me to just totally drop what I have already planned to accommodate you, then I don't think that's fair.
But on the flip side of that, it would be one of those things where if you were dating the type of person that, you know, that's the type of stuff that they like to do to show their love and affection, or, you know, some men are into chivalry a little bit more so than others. And it would be one of those situations where, okay, if you drive from another city and I'm not here, bruh, you can't get upset.
Right. And you can't get upset.
It would be
because
just a simple matter of,
right,
you check into a hotel and I catch you tomorrow. You know.
Right.
And so it would definitely be one of those situations where you would really have to analyze the entire situation, you know. Now, if the person drops into town and they say, well, I came to see you and you weren't at home, you know, like they have a problem with that, that's when the red flag would come up.
Right.
Like,
I was going to say, oh, that's a good point.
like,
That's a good point, Miss Ann. So, yes.
That was
so,
the point of control, you know.
Yes.
And but now if they decide to drop into town and you're not there, and they say, oh, you know, sweetie, I came by to see you and you weren't at home. I'm so sorry I missed you. I'm headed back home. Then it's like, oh, it make you, you know, like, oh, you came to see me.
Right. It'll be like, okay, yeah.
Cool with that.
I would think that was, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a red flag. If a red flag comes into play when, okay, if they happen to just up and come to visit you and it's a surprise visit and you don't know anything about it, and let's say and they get there and you're not there and not available, and then when you do talk to them, they're like, well, I came to see you, you know, you weren't available, you weren't at home, and you was like, well, I already had plans, or I wasn't at home because I already had something going on, I already had plans. I mean, I didn't know you was coming, so how could I, it's like, how can you be mad at somebody for that if I didn't know you was coming? And in turn, if they try to flip the script on you, if they try to make you feel like you should have just been at home waiting for them all the time because you never know type of thing, that's a definite red flag. Like, that's a definite bona fide, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like, exit stage left, leave that person alone. I'm telling you, because people that expect you to just be sitting at home and don't have no life and be waiting on them to call you, or waiting on them to, come by or hit you up and make plans. Like, they really expect you to not have no life and just be sitting at home waiting on them when they ready to come and see you. No, that's a definite red flag. That's a definite, like Miss Ann said, control is definitely into play. Or let's go in further. Like, if they see you, or if you have a conversation or interact with anybody of the opposite sex around them, and they get to having a fit, flipping the script. I know I'm like, using old terms, but whatever. Myself, I don't care. I be using old terms that's like not even relevant. I just like to say it. Any of those things, basically, like, that's a red flag. I'm telling you, I've been in that situation before where it's like, I mean, I'm talking about to the point of if a male sent me a friend request, this is a friend request, so on social media, somebody that I've never probably even see or engage with, this person is like way across the country, in another state, whatever, or they could be in the same state, it don't matter. If they flip out over somebody of the opposite sex communicating with you, sending you a friend request, if you're just engaging in casual conversation, like, that's a definite red flag of jealousy. They're very jealous, or they're insecure, or probably both. But I don't dealt with all the types: jealous, insecure, controlling, all of that. And so I can tell you, like, if they just feel like they just want to always have you to themselves, if they don't ever want you to really interact with any other friends, even family, or even if it's somebody of the opposite sex, like, that doesn't give them a reason to flip out just because you just having a conversation, because we're going to have to engage with people of the opposite sex sometimes. We don't live in a world just full of men or just full of women. Right. So you're going to have to engage in conversation, whether it's for, business, work related. It could be casual. Like, it doesn't matter. If that person just flips out, if they just see you, like they don't even know, or they just want to automatically assume that, you're flirting with this person, or this person is trying to get with you, and you're kind of open to it, like, ding, 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 red flag. They're insecure. They're very insecure. Like, you should be able to see the person that, if the person that you are dating or in a relationship with, if they happen to be engaging in a conversation with somebody of the opposite sex, it shouldn't automatically trigger you to think, oh, well, they're trying to talk to somebody else on the side. They over there flirting, like, just being now, if it's blatantly disrespectful, like, you could tell when somebody's blatantly just being disrespectful as far as, flirting in your face, or, they talking to somebody and they, trying to slide them the number on the slide. Stuff like that is like blatant, but just because you are engaging in a conversation with somebody of the opposite sex doesn't mean that they automatically want to assume that something's going on. You trying to, have something on the side, a side piece. You cheating, like, a lot more than likely, that person has probably been in a relationship where someone has been unfaithful to them or has cheated on them. And so now they're always suspicious. Now they pretty much don't trust anyone, which that's a definite another red flag. If this person has trust issues, you got to leave them alone, because you can't be in a relationship without trust. And first of all, right, you shouldn't even be dating if you got trust issues. But I say that's a whole nother discussion. But a lot of people out here are dating with their trust issues, with their insecurity and their jealousy and control, and not really knowing who they are. All of that right into one, but they want to date and get hooked up with somebody, and all they doing is bringing all of that into it. So you just have to really be, mindful. You have to always be alert. You have to keep not only your natural eye, but your spiritual eye always open when you're out here dating and get to know people, because unfortunately, a lot of people, they are bringing forth their representative and not the real them. And you don't see the real them until like 2 or 3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes way further on down the line. So the longer, so I would say also, keep this in mind, is that you want to take as much time as you can to really and fully get to know somebody, even before you decide to make it official. Like, before you decide to be official in an exclusive relationship with them, take as much time. It is no time limit. Sometimes it could be, 2 months. Sometimes it could be 6 months. Sometimes it could be, 10 months or a year. I mean, it doesn't matter, but don't let anybody make you feel bad about, okay, well, it's been 3 weeks. We've been dating, so are we gonna make this official? 3 weeks? Like, I haven't really even begun to see the real deal of who you are. So don't let anybody make you feel pressured about having to make things official after a couple of weeks or a month or two, because I'm telling you, for most people, they're not showing you the real them up front. Now, there are there's always exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, people are showing you their representative. When they're dating you for the first couple of months, it's the representative. And the real them don't come out till they feel like, okay, once they get comfortable with you and they feel like that they got you in a sense. But that's another key point. Don't ever let a man, don't even let him think, even if he does, that he got you, because he feel like he got you to the point where he feel like that you ain't probably gonna go nowhere. And that's when, they just pretty much just start slipping, falling off in certain areas. They feel like, I don't say falling off, but they start slacking, and they kind of get very lax when it comes to doing certain things. they feel like they don't have to really stay on top of, even with the communication, if they really feel like they got you and you ain't going nowhere. So any questions or anybody want to add to any of that?
I just wanted to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Deanna.
No, I was just going to say, this is just bringing up a lot of stuff for me. I'm like, Lord, it's just a lot, because I had a guy, he used to sneak up on me. He'd come to my job, he just different things like that. And I should have known at that point that those was red flags.
Yes, those are definite red flags.
I stopped by his house. He would not let me in.
So wait a minute. He could just up and stop by your house or your place of employment where you work, which you really shouldn't be stopping by anybody's work unless it's important, or if you're coming to bring me some flowers or lunch or something here and there, I can understand that. But pretty much, so he thought it was okay for him to just up and pop up on you, but if you came by his house or you came by to see him, it was an issue.
It was an issue. And because I did not call or anything, I just stopped by, and I didn't think nothing of it at the time, because I guess I just felt like that's where we was at. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I should have known. There's so much, from day one, there was a lot of things, but that was a major thing.
Right.
So that, he had no respect of my boundaries. And I even knew better at one point that even with a man, you should, even if you are available, if they don't call you within a certain amount of time, like say they want to date, go out on a date on Friday, they need to call you at least by Wednesday. They shouldn't be calling you on Friday or, Thursday night.
I mean, I know I'm not crazy. I tell guys that all the time when I first meet a guy or we first start talking or whatever, and I know, like, look, like, if you want to take me on a date, you need to give me at least 48 hours notice. Like, I feel like, and that's because I have a child, so I'm saying that, and you're saying, and you don't even have any small kids at home that you have to, make arrangements for, get a babysitter. Like, I mean, I have a preteen, but I'm not leaving her at home by herself like that. So anyway, it's like I pretty much I have to make an arrangement, if I want to go out with anybody that doesn't involve me bringing my child, And so for most guys, yeah, they understand that, they get that, especially if they are a parent or they have kids. Then you have some guys that feel like, okay, I got to give you 20 years. I need to have it. I say 48, 24 minimum, maybe, but ideally I need to have 48-hour notice. And that's just, I feel like, that's being more than reasonable, especially if you like me and you have a child. Even if you don't have a child, like, that gives a person enough time to be able to arrange their schedule and be able to, plan things out. Because I understand, like, some people may be more spontaneous and like to do spontaneous stuff, but some of us, like me, I don't really have the luxury of being that spontaneous right now. And it's like, whoever's dating me, they gonna have to understand that. Like, we can't really do too much spontaneous stuff, because first of all, I'm a mother, and so my life is pretty much centered around my child. And anything that I want to do as far as an adult activity that is not going to be involving her, it's going to have to be planned. And that's just going to be the way it is until she leaves the home. Yeah. So they're going to have to understand that. And so, but if you set that boundary or rule, like, okay, if you want to go out on a date or take me somewhere, I need 48-hour notice, and they are not respecting that boundary, saying like that's another definite red flag. Like, if somebody does not respect your boundaries, or is not being understanding or respectful of, certain things as far as guidelines, like, that you put in place, and it's not, being unrealistic, or it's not you being unreasonable. Like, if they don't respect that, then pretty much, like, they don't respect you. And that's what
Yeah,
I
I was.
now they have to be able to respect whatever boundaries you put in place if they really are serious and they want to truly get to know you and date you and possibly, you know, be in a relationship, like, because that's pretty much like, you know, setting the tone. And it's telling me up front, okay, you don't respect boundaries that I put in place. How is that, you know, how is that going to work if we're really trying to move forward and build something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had learned that some dating book I read years ago, but one of the things it was saying that not just about respecting the boundaries, but also because they might, if they tell you at the last minute, they could have asked two, three other people and they said no. So they asking you at the last minute is
That's
what
what
I
it
was
is. A lot
saying
of
too.
times you are not their only option. So they feel like,
Right.
okay, yeah, if I ask you at the last minute and I done asked like about two or three other people. So if this person say no, I still got like two, three other people in my back pocket that if you ain't trying to go out, I still got some other options. See, that's another thing because for me, I feel like now this is, I'm not saying this is like, you know, Bible or it should be across the board for anyone. But I strongly believe in, you know, really based on a lot of my experiences that, you know, it works out better this way anyway. But as a Christian woman, if you really out here trying to live and do things as a kingdom woman, let's talk about that because that's what this discussion is about: dating as a diva or a kingdom woman. Then I feel like when you're just dating, that you should just be focused on one person that you are dating at that time, and not have a whole bunch of multiple people that you're dating at the same time, because all it's going to do is bring about confusion. And then if you start to develop feelings for one person more than the other, now you're putting yourself in a situation where you may have to choose or, you know, cut somebody off, and you may be unintentionally leading them on, because what if things are going well with all parties involved, and then you have to make a decision on which person you want to continue the day, or which person you do want to be in a relationship with, which person is going to end up being, you know, cut off basically, and that's not a good position to be in. And the same goes for men. You know, I'm saying this is a woman's discussion, but I feel like men, I don't know, we may need to have them on here too one day. But anyway, men as a kingdom man, as a true man of God, a kingdom man, he should not, you know, I would say this, if he's really truly a true kingdom man of God, I believe like when it comes to dating, and if he's trying to date you, he's not going to be trying to date you and date 5 other people at the same time.
Right.
Because a kingdom man, especially if he is focused on finding his wife, you know, he's not trying to further complicate things or, you know, make it any more difficult for him to choose. So it's kind of it's basically it's counterproductive to want to be dating multiple people at the same time. The only people that want to do that are people that are pretty much out here casually dating, and they're not dating for the purpose of finding a potential partner or future spouse. Basically, they're just out here dating or just for fun, or just to be able to, you know, have someone to go out and have fun and do things with. You know, it's basically say it's just for fun. Somebody who is really serious about, you know, getting to know someone, to be in a long-term serious relationship with, and eventually marriage, like I'll be willing to bet money. Like those type of people, they are not, you know, for the most part, they are not out here trying to date multiple people at the same time. So I will also say, look at that, like, especially, you know, if he's made it known to you that he's, you know, pretty much just wanted to date multiple people, he's not really, you know, serious about just being with dating one person, or being in an exclusive relationship anytime soon. Because I've had someone to tell me this, but I'm glad that they told me up front before I really got really further involved, or before I really started liking them, because I was already kind of liking them a little bit, but it wasn't like I was so far deep in it. And when they told me, well, basically, I just want to casually, like they flat out told me I'm dating other people too, and I'm not really looking to be in anything serious. So I was like, okay. So like I said, you take that information and if you know that that's not where you at or what you looking for or where you at, then honestly, I would be the fool if I continue to entertain and talk and date somebody like that, knowing that's not where I'm at. That's not where I'm at mentally or what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody or somebody that's going to date and focus on me exclusively and vice versa. I'm going to be dating them exclusively only. And then if we decide that this is not the best fit for us, then after that point, if you want to decide to move, start dating somebody else, then you can. But that's why it's important to really ask the right questions and be as open as transparent with people from the beginning. And it allows them to also be open and transparent with you and let them know, like, what, find out what are their intentions, where are they at, what are they looking for at this point in time. Like before you get too far deep in, just make sure that you ask them and find out what are your intentions, like, where are you at right now in life. Like, I just ask people. I mean, I don't know. I'm just direct, but I'm like, are you looking, to be in something, for something serious? Are you just, wanting to just, casually date right now? Or is it for a friend with benefits? I mean, I just put it all out there because you got all different kind of categories of people, Christian or not, that everything from just wanting a friend with benefits, to I want a relationship, to I want to be married, I'm trying to be married like something later. You got that whole spectrum of single people out here. So you gotta find out and make sure that they are on the same spectrum with you. All right. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up in a few. I just wanted to go over some, just really quickly some questions that you can ask when you are out on a date with someone, just to kind of gauge where they're at. So one is, ask them to define what is their definition of success. What does success mean to them? Because when you ask them this, it gives you a clear, a better understanding of what they value, what's important to them. Would anybody be upset that you're here with me right now? That's a good question to ask to determine, are they single, like single for real? Or are they single, but they still got like, maybe an ex-girlfriend, but in her mind, she thinks they're still together. Or, I got a baby mama, but we're not together, but the baby mama thinks that y'all still together. She still come around. Like, I mean, that question could open up so much. So ask them, would anybody be upset if they knew that you were here with me right now? If we took a selfie, I mean, we took a picture and just happened to post it on social media, not saying that you should, but if you did, would anybody be like, Papa, who this woman? Basically, okay. What does your Sunday look like? That's a good question to gauge as far as where they're at spiritually on their walk, because don't just ask them, do they go to church? Like, that's just the worst question to ask. Not the worst, but it's not the best question to ask somebody to gauge, because a lot of people go to church and it doesn't mean that they are really serious about their walk. It doesn't even mean that they are saved or that it's saved for real, for real. They might just believe in God and they go to church on Christmas, New Year's, and Easter because that's just what you do. Okay, so just asking, do they go to church is not, it's a very shallow question, and most typical Christians do. Let's say, even if it's just once or twice a year. So ask them, what does your Sunday look like? And that gives you a good idea. If they say, well, I go to church, or, whatever they say, you can ask them that. How do you release anger? What do you do when you are upset or when you get frustrated? Like, that's a good question to ask to gauge, like, how do they handle their emotions? Okay, so those are just a few of good ones. Like I said, when you go on these dates, don't be asking those shallow questions like what's your favorite movie, where you like to go, what you want to do for fun. Like you can ask all that later. But I like to ask thought-provoking questions, and you want to ask questions where you can get down to the nitty-gritty of who they are, what they believe in, what are their morals or values, you know, how stable are they mentally, emotionally? You don't have to even get into financially, definitely not on the first or second, third date. That's a question for later on down the line. But I gotta know, is you stable mentally, emotionally? Okay. I need to know that as far as your spiritual life, that I need to know that you are a man after God's own heart, and that you put him first. It's not about, you don't have to be a preacher or pastor, none of that. But I need to know that you have a pretty good solid walk with God, and that your relationship, you have to have your own personal relationship with God, and it needs to be like number one in your life. Like it has to be solid. That's a definite for me. So asking those questions that's gonna provoke some thought and get more than just 1 or 2 word answers, and not just yes or no answers. That's very important. Miss Ann, I see you got your hand up. You got a question?
Well, actually, I just had 2 comments. One, piggybacking off of what you said about asking clear questions and being very specific. I think probably the more concise question would not even be, what does your Sunday look like? And I'll give you an example. When I first started talking to my husband, and mind you, we weren't even talking about, the story, like dating wasn't even, like that wasn't even part of our conversation, but he worked every Sunday. And so he went to church, and when he got out of church, he went to work. And so, but it wasn't until after he came to Michigan that he, for those of us that have grown up in Baptist churches, you go to church on Sunday. That's what you do. As far as understanding the purpose in worship and understanding relationship versus just church being something that you do. My husband didn't actually start learning that until he came here to Michigan with me. And so even though most Sundays he worked, and a lot of times because he's a chef, he has to go to work as soon as he throws on his work clothes and he goes to work right after church. But I think the more concise question would be is, what does your worship look like? Because,
yes, I like that too.
Anybody can go to church, like you said, anybody can go to church faithfully, but that doesn't mean that the church is within them. And so from that perspective, understanding really what their worship life looks like, because my husband, he has a day where, on his off day, and that may vary any day of the week, where when he gets up in the morning, he sits down, he reads his word, and, he meditates over the word. And so that's how he does it, I'm a night person, so I read the Bible at night a lot of times. And so I think, again, that's a more concise question to ask. And then you had made a comment, and that one eluded me, but it was something very, very important that I was going to say in relation to something that you had said after about something that they do, but I can't remember what it is right now.
Okay, yeah, it'll probably come back to you. You're not thinking about it, but yeah, that's a good one. Like, what does your worship look like? And so, when I gave that question as far as what do your Sunday, like that's just one of them. That's not not saying that there are other things that you can ask. Use outside of that. That's just one example, because for the most part, most people they do go to church on Sundays, but not just as far as they gauge if they go to church. Like you said, asking what does their worship look like. But a lot of people, if you ask them that, and they may still be looking at you like they don't, and that's another red flag right there. If you ask them about what their worship look like, and they don't even really understand what that means.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so that tells me that you don't have a worship life, because you don't even know what that means to have a worship life. So that means you don't have one. Another thing that you can ask. Okay, another thing that you can ask as far as the spiritual life, what was I going to say? Yeah, well, you know what? I keep it real basic and I just build from there. Because first I ask, okay, so what are your spiritual beliefs? Because when you say spiritual beliefs, that covers everything. Because if you say, well, are you a Christian? Like a lot of people can say they would fall into that category, but it's the, saying they not really. But anyway, so if you say spiritual, I ask, well, what are your spiritual beliefs? So that way, if you happen to believe in Buddha, if you happen to be out here believing in the stars, the universe, anything else outside of God, like, then that's going to come up, because spiritual is going to cover all of it. Some people, they consider themselves to be very spiritual, but they worship the grass and the trees. You just never know.
Yeah.
So I say start off very basic, and then based on what they say, you can, base and ask additional questions from there. Because if I say what are your spiritual beliefs, and you say, well, I believe, like I've heard some of everything, but I've been told, well, I believe there's a higher power. Well, what higher power do you believe in? Or I believe that there is a higher power, but not necessarily that there's a God. Like, once you say that, like, I'm already thrown for a loop. I'm like, what? Like, or I believe that, there is a higher, element of control. Or some people like saying they don't believe in anything. And that could be, to me, that's like even worse than, just being involved in some other type of spiritual belief or religion. If you say that you don't believe in nothing, that means, okay, so you have no spiritual base, like nothing. So, I say keep it real basic, based on what they say, build upon there. But yeah, like Miss Ann said, ask them, like, okay, let's say if they say, yes, I go to church. Okay, well, what's your worship life? Because let's say going to church is one thing, but your worship life has nothing to do with how much you go to church. And some people understand what that means, but for the average Christian, a lot of Christians, they don't. They think, well, because I go to church, I sing worship song. Does that mean I have a worship life? I ain't trying to be funny, but that's what a lot of people think. Because I had to, I had to grow into that maturity of understanding, knowing that having a worship life is not based around singing worship songs.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you want to get into that. So anything else anybody want to add?
I was just going to say the other thing was about the financial, and I thought about when you said that, I was like, you put some of these bros, you need to be asking about them finances, because I tell you, I have a guy brother who, well, he's married, but if that dude was on the dating scene and somebody 5-6 months down the road, oh, you getting serious, and then you mess around and get married, or you mess around and now you engage and you find out this dude got about $200,000 in medical bills, like, that's something you need to know.
Right. But see, like you said, well, for me, I can say I definitely ain't trying to, I wouldn't be waiting no 5-6 months before I find out about that. But I was just saying, you probably don't want to be asking about somebody's finances on the first date, because you're just trying to get a feel for them and things overall. Yeah. At the same time, if it's like 5-6 months and things are getting serious with y'all, and you don't have no idea of what their finances look like, not saying you got to know every single detail, every debt, every little thing,
right,
but you need to have a good idea of where they're at financially. If you 5-6 months into it with them, like, I need to know, like, bro, okay, is you saying you struggling, because my thing is, if you're struggling on your own, how you gonna, how you gonna think that you're gonna get with me and you having a hard time taking care of yourself? Or if you having a hard time and it's just you having to provide for you, and I'm already in a place where I'm stable and situated with things, and I'm able to hold down myself, my daughter, my household financially on my own, and to get with somebody, and if they can't even meet you where you at, like, to me, like, I feel like that's where you should gauge, like, as far as a potential candidate for a relationship, spouse, whatever. Like, they need to be able to meet you where you at. Because it doesn't even make any common or natural sense to get with somebody that can't even meet you where you at. And pretty much, if you was to get with them, you will be going backwards. Right. Like, that doesn't make any natural sense. We don't have to even get into the spiritual side of it. Like, being equally yoked is across the board. It's not just as far as your spiritual beliefs of you both being saved and believing in God, and all of that is fine and dandy. But you need to make sure that, like, there are just certain basic things that a person should already have in place and have going for them if they are going to be venturing out into the dating arena, especially if they want to be in something serious or a long-term relationship that, is going to lead to marriage, but they don't even have certain basic things in place. But you got that. I mean, that's it. I don't even have time to get into it tonight. But I mean, there are guys out here that will try to date you, hook up with you, just so they can have somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
Because
that's another reason why
know.
You don't want to let them in your house.
Right, because you don't know if they just say, are you trying to find somewhere to lay your head? Like, okay, first of all, I want to see, like, where is your habitat at? Where is your dwelling place? Like, do you have your own roof to go to? Like, find that out. Not saying that you have to go over to their house, off the gate, and say first night. I definitely would not recommend that. But after a couple of dates, meet and greets, whatever you want to call them, if y'all been talking on the phone for a certain amount of time and you've already had a few days, okay, I want to see where I want to see you in your own natural, your habitat, your environment, what you got going on. I'm going to check that out before you try to come over here and see what I got going on.
Right.
Like, and it may not be sometimes, especially like if somebody is long distance, it might make it a little bit more complicated. And I was that one that said I've always been like pretty much like dead set against long distance relationships. I don't want to do it. I don't want no parts of it. I dated people that was like an hour down the road, and they made it seem like it was like I was across the country. So I was like, look, they need to be like in my city, in my state. But then, God checked me on that. He was like, they may not be right around the corner. The person that I have for you, they may be in another city or even in another state, possibly. Of course, I would prefer them not to be, the next city or next state over, and know where there's, a long distance away. But I've had to learn to, and learning to be open, and that we have to be willing to put our preferences aside, because your preferences may not always line up with God's will and what He has. And that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other lesson right there.
And you know what I think that's a very key point to make is something I talk to one of my really good friends about all the time is like you say, your preferences may not line up with God's will. But I think that when we really think about, especially from a dating perspective, when we're thinking about, the umbrella of having that discernment on who it is that God has sent in our life. And I think that if we are in alignment with God's will for our life, even though our ideas may not line up with God's, I think that at the end of the day, when it boils down to it, and for example, my husband's definitely not my type. He's too sweet and kind, and
and he was in a different state. Yeah, her husband was living in a different state.
Yeah,
so, when they first started dating.
It's right. So I would not have I would not have dated my like that is not that. My husband is not my type. And so, but I love him dearly because he's something definitely that again I would not have expected whatsoever. You know, if you ain't every once in a while yelling, screaming, and cussing, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't accustomed to his type. And so, you know, I think again, being in alignment with God's will for our lives will allow us to be able to make that adjustment and say, okay, you know, this may be doable. And so going back to, like I said, you know, having that discernment, you know, that's part of your topic is having that discernment. Being in alignment with God's will automatically give you the discernment that you need in order to not go through those relationships. Because, you know, I've been married 3 times. You know, my first husband, we started out as friends. We hung out together, we kicked it, and then we got into a relationship with each other. And then we were married for 6 years. We were together for a total of about 10 years. My second husband, I met him in what? My son was born in May. I met him in May. We got married. I met him in May of 2001. We got married in November of 2001. And we were married for 12 and a half years. And so, you know the story, like God kept me in that mess for 12 and a half years. But that mess is what ended up becoming a part of my message. It was the thing that has me at the place that I'm at today, because the Lord told me that he didn't give me that man for me. He gave me him for ministry. And I was like, okay, you know, I was all geeked. But It wasn't for us to be in that ministry together. He placed the ministry inside of me because of what I was going to go through and what was going to be birthed out of going through that. And so if it wasn't for me being married to, you know, Mr. Williams for 12 and a half years, I definitely would not be married to Quentin at all. Not at all. Because again, that wasn't my type. But I had to go through the counterfeits in order to see the real. And so, and I think for you guys, you know, in your state of singleness, everything that you have experienced, everything that you've gone through, Deanna mentioned about all of the people that she can look back now and see, there was some red flags. That's that thing called wisdom, right? And the old people used to say, or still say, bought sense is taught sense, right? You will overlook some stuff if somebody else tell you, but when you've experienced that, when you walk that road yourself, it's going to stick. So every single red flag that you saw back then that you just kind of swept under the rug and ignored, those they going to be like blaring.
Yeah, they're going to be blaring now. You won't be able to ignore them no more. They're going to be like, ding, ding, ding. I recognize this. I've seen this before.
Exactly. So along with what you've already experienced, and then just sitting down and getting in that place with God and saying, okay, God, this is what I desire, you know, and the Bible tells us that he would give us the desires of our heart. But this is the key. And I think that this is what, like, literally, this is the thing that unlocks that, is not just simply saying, God, this is what I want, but God, I really want what you want for me.
What you want for me. Yeah, it's about asking and praying to him that, okay, God, help my desires to line up with what you desire.
Yes.
Because yes, he'll give us the desires of our heart, but our desires, if they're not in alignment with what he desires for us, then he's not going to give you that. Now, it may still come. It just may not be so. Probably it's not going to be something that was, you know, from God, because, you know, the devil like to give blessings too.
That's
wrapped up in exactly just what we like. We talked about this last month. He knows exactly what we like. He knows how to send them. And so, like you said, like even with your husband, Mrs. Ann, like he's not your type, but he's exactly what you needed. God knew exactly what you needed. And so that's what I have been asking and, you know, asking and praying to God, because for a long time, you know, I have, you know, my certain type. And I'm like, Lord, if it ain't, I'm sorry, not sorry. You got to send me my type. Okay, this is my type. This is what I like. I'm putting in my order. and this is what you need to send me, because I'll be specific. Like, this is my type. I know how I like them, and I need this wrapped up in this. And it's like,
yeah,
God is like, just, saying, throw all that away, like, oh, I'm like, okay, Lord, you can say that point, you be like, okay, Lord, like, I hear you, but I ain't trying to hear you, but okay. But now I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I need to be attracted to him. So, and I know, saying, God, if he's not going to see nobody that is you're not attracted to. So you don't have to worry about, or stress over that. Because my thing was, I know what I'm attracted to and what I like. So what if he got all this other stuff going on, but I ain't attracted to him? He like, nah, I ain't going, I'm a good father. Why would I see somebody that that ain't me? You could choose giving somebody you're not, but okay, side note, don't ever get in a relationship with somebody you're not attracted to. Like, physical attraction is not the main thing. It's not the most important thing, but it is important. And you are really setting yourself up for a disaster and failure if you give somebody you're not physically attracted to, like, whatsoever. They could be the best person in the world. They can have everything going for them, all of that, that's a good man of God treat you with. I mean, they should have all of that going on, but don't shortchange yourself or settle for somebody you're not attracted to just because they're a good guy and they treat you real good and they're respectful, and you may be in alignment with everything else, but you're gonna need to have that attraction. Okay, you're gonna wanna, if you plan on seeing this person every day, you don't want to then be like, like, you won't have to kind of squint your eyes trying to find a good side. You don't want to have to do that. So you want to, you don't want to, be ashamed. You don't want to be ashamed to, be out in public. You want to actually, want to be able to claim, like, this is my man, and be able to claim that proudly and not be ashamed. Or if you go out in public, you walking like 5 steps ahead of that because you don't want nobody to know that this my man, because he not really that easy on the eyes, but he a good man. He just kind of little,
But see, that's when you do like that. You just dress them up, and you.
But some stuff cannot be dressed up.
Because I was not attracted to my husband at all, like at all.
And that's not, and don't. I mean, I understand. I know we are all beautiful in God's eyesight. But in my eyesight, I need to be attracted to you. That's all I'm saying. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. It's getting late. But I just want to end with this, that when you out here in these dating streets, and when you are getting ready, if you are entering into that season, or even if you're preparing, you may not be in that season yet, but just always, make sure that you are staying in alignment with God and seeking him, spending as much time with him as possible, because the more you do that, the more that your discernment will be heightened. And whenever you encounter a new connection, a new person that comes into your life, you will be able to, have that spirit of discernment be way up and be on alert. And the Holy Spirit, he'll let you know, that he'll give you, he'll give you the indication, the signs. He'll let you know, and you just have to make sure that you always say everything to God in prayer and ask God to reveal, ask the Holy Spirit to reveal the heart of a person and to reveal their intentions, and he'll make it known. But don't get caught up in the outer appearance of how they appear to be, or just what they're saying on the surface level. But ask God to reveal those deep and hidden things, reveal their heart, their true heart, and their character. And that will let you know everything you need to know. So that concludes our time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me for tonight's DIVA discussions. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed this time.
Yes.
Sorry, I was